So we have Ben Bridges. He's the new CEO of St. Matthew's House. He was the VP of Programs. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. Ooh, I just bumped my tooth. Look, that's karma for making fun of Shari's lip.
That's right. And I do
My
want
lips
to
are
say,
fine today.
Yeah, your lips look great. Your lips
good,
look
you're
great.
safe from Amy Wegman.
Yes.
I do want to say good morning to Lee Rollerson. She's watching with us this morning, and she's a very, very special throwback ECS.
Aw,
My ECS
those Sentinels.
Life. Yeah, one of my close friends. That's her mom. So I just wanted to shout her out and say
Oh my
hi.
gosh, I'm so glad she's watching. If you have any burning questions for Shari, even if they are from back in that day, like did she do this or did she do that, feel free to drop them below. Or if you have questions for Mr. Bridges, St. Matthew's House CEO, let us
Ask
know.
those questions. Yes. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
We're so happy to have you.
Thanks a lot.
St. Matthew's House is such an important organization in Southwest Florida. If people aren't touched by it personally, they should at least know about it and feel like they can help out in some way. Talk to me a little bit about what you guys do. What's your mission?
Yeah, thank you. And let me just real quick throw back to your girl power discussion earlier. I've got 3 girls at home.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
So girls run the world,
Yeah.
as they should, right? But St. Matthew's House, yeah, we've been here in Southwest Florida for about 38 years now. And really our driving principles are one core purpose, addressing 3 issues using 5 pillars, right? And so our core purpose, the reason why we exist, is to ensure that no one experiencing hunger, homelessness, or addiction is alone or without a pathway toward restoration from crisis to contributor, right? And so those 3 things that we're addressing are those hunger, homelessness, and addiction, people that are experiencing those things here in Southwest Florida. And we do that with 5 pillars: our shelter network, our recovery program, our food assistance program, our transitional housing, and our workforce development. So that's kind of a quick pitch to describe what we do at St. Matthew's House.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people know of the homeless shelter, but there's so much more that you do. So, I mean, really, so much more. And you can learn about that when you go and check out their website and learn, dive a little deeper into that. Talk to me about what you want and need from the community. Like if they're not somebody who needs your services per se, they can still help.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a ton of ways that the community can help. The first, and probably the one that we're most well known for, is through our thrift stores, right? And so all of our social enterprises, whether it's our thrift stores, our restaurant, our catering company, all exist to help to fund our programs. So anybody that's shopping in one of our stores, anybody that comes to eat at Lulu's Kitchen down in Naples, anyone that books an event with our catering company, they are helping to support our mission, because 100% of the revenue that we're able to generate in our stores and our social enterprises goes back to fund the mission. And that mission, looks like the 400 people that stayed with us last night through our shelter programs, through our transitional housing, the men and women that are in our recovery programs. So it takes a village for sure. But we also certainly always need volunteers, whether that's serving at our food assistance program, out at a distribution point, maybe it's bringing your community together, your school, your office, and hosting a food drive for us so that we can deliver food. We served about 2.5 million meals last year to our community through the hot meals that we serve every day across our campuses, as well as all the meals that we provided through our food assistance program.
Wow.
That's
amazing.
The scale is pretty big.
Can you talk about demand? I feel like this is a conversation we try to have on air as much as possible. Can you share with the community that's watching today the increase in demand that you've seen, and really when you started to kind of see that spike? I'm assuming maybe COVID, but maybe it's,
Yeah, it's easy to go back to COVID, and we certainly did see that spike. At our peak after COVID, we were serving about 25,000 families a month just through our food assistance program. But that impact, spread across housing insecurity, even, increases in substance use disorder. And so, the need continues to grow, and that's why we are trying to continue to grow, and then work with our partners who also are trying to grow to meet that demand, right? So here in Southwest Florida, I think at the last count, we saw something about around 1,500 homeless individuals, as well as 1,700 children who are experiencing homelessness right now. And so obviously we can't meet the demand, on our own, and so we really rely on each other as nonprofit partners, and then more broadly, the community, to come alongside us and support that effort.
I think that sometimes people have this wrong perception in their head of who a homeless person is, right? You can maybe see someone out on the streets, or maybe you think of drug abuse or mental illness, but a lot of times they are a child of someone. They are maybe a parent, a brother, a sister. And sometimes I think people who never thought they would end up in that situation are in that situation. Can you talk a little bit about that stigma?
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up because when we think about our unhoused neighbors or people that are experiencing homelessness, hopefully for just a temporary time, to your point, a lot of times they carry that stigma with them. But the reality is, so often those things like an addiction, even mental health challenges, are a result or a symptom of their situation. So it may have been a job loss, it may have been a health emergency, right? That required a financial investment on their part that then led them to a point where they couldn't afford to pay rent. And so all of a sudden they find themselves without a home. And when you take that step, now your world crashes down, and all of a sudden you find yourself experiencing those other symptoms like potentially addiction or struggling with mental health challenges.
Yeah.
And so, one thing we're excited about, we've got a new art exhibit that we've developed called Faces Beyond Homelessness. And to your point, this is an opportunity for us to lend a little bit of humanity to these experiences. And so we worked with a local artist down in Naples named Wendy Wagner, who came in. She interviewed several of our residents here and was able to develop these portraits that really are going to tell the story of a lot of our residents that goes beyond those stigmas.
And I think, are we seeing some of those right now? Yeah, we're seeing some of the beautiful
it's
pictures.
just a really, really amazing opportunity for us.
We're getting some comments on Facebook, so keep asking those questions if you want to. Yeah, I think, and in Southwest Florida, we hear so often, too, about, like, the newer issue, if you will, of, like, seniors not being able to afford, their rent or a home anymore. And so anyone can end up in this situation. I think that's what we need to remember and take away from
Yeah,
that.
and particularly seniors, who are generally living on a fixed income,
Yeah.
right? So if their income is fixed, but their rent is increasing every year, it becomes increasingly difficult to make sure they can maintain that. And then you throw in, situations. We've got a woman, who found herself in a place where she was able to get a roommate, but a couple years into that situation, the roommate fell into dementia, right? And then obviously was no longer able to provide. And so now she found herself, needing support of St. Matthew's House because the plan that she thought was going to be there for quite a while fell apart. And so she turned to us for support.
So you talked about like a catering company, and we know about the thrift stores, the restaurant. Are a lot of the employees who are catering, who are working at the restaurant, are they former people that you served?
They are. Across the organization, about 40-50% of our employees are actually men and women that have experienced restoration through St. Matthew's House, whether they've come through our shelter program or through our Justin's Place recovery program. And certainly is true at Lulu's Kitchen. And so if you come to Lulu's Kitchen on any given day, it's likely that the man or woman that's going to help you at your table is somebody who has experienced that restoration through our programs. And even beyond that, not just the employment opportunity, but likely has been restored to their families, been restored back to society. And so it's a really beautiful, holistic picture, this beautiful opportunity that we have to restore these lives.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, you guys tackle so much at St. Matthew's House. I want to talk about the drug addiction aspect for a second. If someone is listening and they're like, listen, this is something I'm dealing with in my family or myself, what are the parameters, requirements for getting help from St. Matthew's House?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is they just call our number. So if you go to our website, stmatthewshouse.org, the first thing that's going to pop up is a question, do you need help? And if somebody's looking for help, you click that button, that'll take you right to the phone number, to the person that you need to reach out to. We've got people right there, right now, waiting to receive those calls and to talk through that situation. You know, the reality is about 17% nationally, 17% of people above the age of 12 struggle with some kind of addiction. Now, not everybody thinks that they struggle with an addiction.
Right.
So we know the demand is great. And so the next step then is to helping people to identify that they do need help, and then for us to be there to support them on that journey. Now, our program, it's a 12-month faith-based program, so it's a significant investment for the men and women that want to begin that journey toward restoration. But we're really pleased, with the success that we see through that program, and not just for the individual, but for the success that we see in them being restored to family, being restored to faith. You know, our program is a holistic program, so not only can they find restoration from their addiction, but we also provide those opportunities you talked about for workforce development, to provide employment, to provide housing, so graduates of our recovery program can stay with us for up to 2 years after they graduate.
That's
To
awesome.
give them that catalyst, that kickstart back to society.
It's like a safety net.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. I mean, obviously, you have so many success stories. Are there any that really stand out to you? Because I just want to drive home the point. Like, if somebody is or watches this on social media, like, you're not permanently stuck where you are. Anyone can come out of this
There is
situation.
hope. There is hope. And you come to any of our properties and you'll meet somebody
Yeah, I
that's
love that.
experienced that restoration,
I love
right?
that.
I think, to your point, we see them all every day, but one that comes to mind, actually just yesterday, we celebrated the 5-year work anniversary of one of our directors at our shelter program.
awesome.
And this woman is somebody that came through our Justin's Place recovery program. You know, we met her at her point of deepest need. And now here 5 years later, she's a vital part of our mission. She's now found an amazing husband, you know, who also was a graduate of our program, also an employee of ours, one of our valuable members.
Wow.
She's an incredible teammate, but perhaps most importantly, the thing I'm most excited about is the opportunity she's had to restore the relationship with her son, whom, you know, for so many years wanted nothing to do with her. Because, admittedly, she'll tell you, because of the choices that she's made.
You set boundaries, but now she's
so
welcome.
now she's in a position, so when I talk to her and I see the way that she lights up, because she now has this relationship with her son. She went to Busch Gardens with them a couple weeks ago. You know, he's reaching out to her for advice, and so just to see the way that she lights up when she talks about her son and the relationship that she's been able to restore makes it all worth it.
You were VP of programs. Now you are CEO. How long have you been at St. Matthew's House?
About 2.5 years.
2.5 years. And can you talk about what you get to witness, like almost every day that you're there? Can you talk about that fuel, that motivation that like gets you through the everyday?
Yeah, I mean, it's stories like that, right?
Yeah.
Because this work, ask anybody at St. Matthew's House or anybody really that works in the nonprofit human services sector. It's hard work.
It's hard
Oh
work.
my gosh, I used to work in it. I
It's
know.
messy,
Yeah.
it's frustrating some days, but when you find those moments of joy, you know, just on Saturday, we had a group in and there's at our shelter, and we've got a young boy, he's about 1.5 years, right? But to see him smiling, to swinging on the swing, and then as the group was coming by, he was standing there and he wanted to give nuts to all the people coming by. And just to know, like, it's quite likely that a month before he was probably having to live in the car
Wow.
with his mom or
Wow.
maybe couch surf, you know,
Wow.
with really no idea. And still he's young, but really no idea what life, you know, has in store for him. Life to the full, we like to talk about. And so it's stories like that, you know, watching the way that people, once they get those immediate needs taken care of, once they don't have to worry about where they're going to sleep, once they don't have to worry about where
Yes.
their next meal is going to come
Yes.
from, then they can begin to dream about what's next on their journey.
Yeah, and that's the thing with St. Matthew's House. You have all of those tiers, right? You have the immediate, I need help. You have the homeless shelter. You have the housing. You have the jobs support. So it's an amazing organization. We appreciate everything you do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We couldn't do without folks like you, so we appreciate it.
Listen, I don't know what is the name of the PR person that you guys with your marketing.
Bob Urzek.
Bob Urzek
Yeah.
is in our inbox like
He's the man.
once a day.
Yeah.
Literally every day.
Shout out Bob.
Shout out Bob. And Bob does such a great job of painting the picture of what you guys do. And really, it's just by telling the stories of people that are impacted. So shout out to you guys and all you're doing, because that's the story side of it, right? But like the work is a whole nother thing. So we appreciate you guys so much. Shout out to Bob, always in our inbox. And
Yes.
most of the time, I'm actually reading your emails,
good
Bob.
stuff.
'cause
We
it's
do
good
read
stuff.
them.
Yeah.
Anything else before we wrap up that you want to?
I'm sorry.
You're so excited.
Yeah, because the art exhibit to me is like super profound. What are the details for the art exhibit?
Yeah, so if you go to stmatthewshouse.org, you can find the Faces Beyond Homelessness link.
Okay.
It's got a little kind of promo video. It'll talk about all the different locations where this exhibit's going to be around town throughout the season, all the way through the spring, different events and things like that. We want to get it out there as much as possible. If there's somebody that would be willing to or interested in hosting the exhibit for a day, a couple days, a week, we'd love to talk to them.
Okay.
Any place where you've got a lot of people that are going to be coming by to see it, because we want to get these stories out there to break that stigma, to introduce people to the idea that these are our neighbors, and we want to be there to support them.
I love that.
I'm sorry, I have one more question.
Please.
What do you say to the person who's watching who is on the brink of homelessness right now? I mean, it's fill in the blank is real, right?
Yeah.
And they're looking at their bank account, they're looking at the bills coming in. What do you say to that person who's like, I might need help, but I'm a little nervous to ask, or
Or I'm not
that
quite
person,
there.
I'm not quite there.
Yeah.
Maybe I can make it. What do you say to that person?
Yeah, that's why we exist, right? So just call us. Even if you're unsure, we've got
that's good.
folks to answer that phone to walk them through that process. And if we can't support them directly, we can connect them to resources. As I said, it takes an incredible village, right? And so we're certainly not the only nonprofit
Sure.
working here in Southwest
Yes.
Florida. And we've got some amazing partners that we're able to come alongside. And so if we don't have the answer, we can hopefully connect them to somebody else that can support. But it just takes that call, and we're here. You know, there's no stigma. No, on the other, all you're going to find on the end of the line is somebody that loves you and wants what's best for you.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Don't wait till it's too late.
That's right.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
So to learn more, go to their website, stmatthewshouse.org.
Yep. stmatthewshouse.org. You can find us on Facebook,
Yeah.
Instagram.
They're all over the place. Shop at their thrift stores, volunteer when you can, donate when they need blankets when we have those cold snaps
Yes.
and all the fun stuff that they need, and
Yes.
and just help our fellow neighbors out. So thank you again for joining
you.
us. We really
Yeah,
appreciate
thank you very
it.
much.